minus 10 minutes. Minus 9 minutes. Minus 8 minutes. Minus 7 minutes. Minus 6 minutes. minus 5 minutes. Minus for minutes. Minus 3 minutes. Minus 2 minutes. Minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
As they say, thank you, Rick Regan. How about that? Welcome inside, everybody. A brand new week on the RP Show, coming at you live on the Game Plus Television Network and various other platforms. We love us some Game Plus. I know you love you some RP Show, so sit tight and get ready for a lot of fun over the next 2 hours here. It's your boy RP, joined by your boy Mitchell Scruffy Blair, co-hosting with us here in hour one. We got a lot to get to over the next couple of hours. What do I have here? We got NHL, we got Blue Jays, we got CFL, we got NFL, we got college football. All I will say, Mitch, before I dispense with the pleasantries, how was your weekend, sir?
It was a wet weekend in Saskatchewan. We had about 5 inches fall here from about Friday night till Saturday night. There was a big mess, and I know your viewers that probably outside of southern Saskatchewan wouldn't know, but a huge hailstorm hit just east of Regina, some bedroom communities. It was a mess here on Friday and Saturday.
Sorry to hear that. And thank you for the weather report, Scruffy. I have talked to some farmers, and I'm telling them, hopefully this delay is short. And let's talk some sports now. Let's put people in a good mood. Quick 6 show topics here. We open with the big story. It's football. Fall is for football, Mitchell. And your team won. My team won. The Dallas Cowboys. We got a lot to get to here in the warm-up, from NFL to CFL, college, as I mentioned, U Sports. But listen, I don't know. I didn't see a down of what your Seahawks did to the Steelers. But I will say this. Anybody that says the Cowboys-Giants game wasn't – they're saying this the game of the day. That's what I heard Mike Florio say. It's going to be tough to beat for the game of the year. Cowboys beating the Giants in overtime. 2 history-breaking things happened in the game, Mitch. There were 6 lead changes in the game. That tied an NFL record, and Brandon Aubrey, the coach, the kicker for the Cowboys, kicked a field goal with no time left in regulation, then in no time left in overtime for the Cowboys to win it. That's never happened before. So I'm a pretty happy guy that the Cowboys won to go to 1-1. That was my focus, which was scattered amongst a lot of other football things, but that you were pretty confident the Seahawks were going to go into Pittsburgh and win. Am I right?
Yeah, I thought they could go into Pittsburgh and win. Obviously, it was going to be a tough chore to beat a Steelers team in Pittsburgh, but the Seattle defense, which is very good, and really, if it wasn't for a bonehead play by Reek Woolen in week 1, might have beaten San Francisco. They came to play yesterday, and they made life difficult for Aaron Rodgers. They are also the beneficiary of just a boneheaded play on special teams, as the rookie let the kickoff bounce by him, thinking, well, okay, I don't have to play it. Well, you do, son. And that was probably the turning point of the football game. But, yeah, your Cowboys-Giants game, I think a lot of people didn't think the Giants would have a sniff against the Cowboys, especially in Dallas. Russell Wilson, I think, silenced any rumors of being benched. And, boy, it must be nice to have a kicker that can kick a 64-yard field goal. And it's not like he just does that every now and then. He's been known to do that since he came into the league. So that was quite the game. I saw the end of that game yesterday from about the time where Dallas, I think there was about 2 minutes left when I started watching it because the Seahawks game was over. It was something.
Hell of a Sunday of NFL football. We got a doubleheader tonight. And let me just stop the presses. Number one, everybody, get your football questions ready of NFL, CFL, college, whatever variety you would like. You can fire them at Scruffy and me if you want, but Matt Dubuc is coming up in hour 2. CFL alum, Grey Cup champion, winning receiver, and head coach at Cardinal Gibbons High School here in Fort Lauderdale, and a 3-time state champion. One of the questions is, I want to know what's happening with kickers, because that was the talk on Pro Football Talk this morning, was and NBC Sports Radio. How is it that 50-plus yard field goals are now like a chip shot? You know, except for Brett Lowther, but I won't get into that. You know, we won't go there. But we will bring up some comments from the viewers. Tony's watching in Cochrane, Alberta, and he writes it. He says, Overreaction Monday? The Chiefs and Browns have the same 0-2 record. Wow. Well, that would be a good segue into our poll question today, which is brought to you by our friends at EMJ Marketing. Joe, 747, Gunnis at EMJ Marketing. Which coach is going to get fired first in the NFL? Is it the Browns, Kevin Stefanski? Is it the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel? Or is it the Giants, Brian Daboll, or other? Okay, clearly Andy Reid is not being fired in Kansas City. If there's a team that's, I think, going to dig themselves out of it, it's the Chiefs. But here, Mitch, as I was driving down to the Keys on Friday afternoon, I listened to 3 all-sports radio stations, and every single one was roasting Mike McDaniel. That was Friday before the game was even played. Did you see his post-game news conference? The clips come out of that yesterday with the Dolphins losing to the Patriots here, 33-27? I assume he did.
No, I didn't see that. Didn't? I heard about them. I heard about it, but I haven't seen it. But I'm just going to throw this at you. You're asking about the first coach who's going to be fired?
Yeah.
Zach Taylor in Cincinnati.
Can't now. Not with his quarterback hurt.
You can. Yes, you can.
Why?
That team does not play good football coming out of the gate. That team, and the general manager has to take a little bit of the blame as well. You go out and you sign Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to big contracts. You go out and you sign Trey Hendrickson to big contracts, but you refuse to protect your best player, which is Joe Burrow. And now he's out for 3 months with that turf toe injury. Zach Taylor was on the hot seat before. I think if they lose to the Vikings next week, he's done.
Okay. Well, you're voting for other. Just so you know, running away with the poll, like 70%, it is Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins.
Well, I would say McDaniel.
Yeah, like 4 years ago when he was hired
the favorite,
here.
Without a doubt. But I think Zach Taylor's the guy.
I just remember when he was hired here, replacing Brian Flores. It's like wedding photos. Everybody's smiling and hugging and shaking hands. You know how it's going to end. And with Mike McDaniel, he was cool. He was the professor for the longest time. And now he was catatonic. And he was catatonic, Mitch. Do yourself a favor and go check out the clips of Mike McDaniel. He was like, we try to win, but we didn't win. We lost. That makes it hard to win. He was in a trance. You know, I can't imagine with the pressure of being an NFL coach. But they're 0-2 after losses to the Patriots and the Colts. Those were games they were supposed to win. Okay? So anyways, we're just getting rolling. We've got CFL to get to. The Western Dodge text line is open, 902-518-3033. Write us there. Write us in the YouTube chat. While you're there, give us a like, a share, a subscribe if you haven't already, and comment. That would help us out a lot too. We'll be right back with the warm-up. Point 2 right after this on Game Plus TV.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Nazareth's Canadian Farewell Tour is coming to Moose Jaw. Live at Temple Garden Center, October 17th. With special guest, Lee Aaron. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or sasktix.ca.
Hour one brought to you in part by The Mad Greek. Whether it's pizza, ribs, or authentic Greek favorites, make it The Mad Greek Eatery tonight, open till 11 p.m. Order online, pick up, or dine in at themadgreekeatery.com. Before we truck on with more football with Mitchell Scruffy Blair, a couple of news items in the Quick Six. Washington Capitals assistant coach Mitch Love has been placed on a team-imposed leave pending results of an NHL investigation. Love was previously an assistant coach with the Everett Silvertips and a head coach with the Saskatoon Blades. He was a head coach with the AHL Stockton Heat and Calgary Wranglers before joining the Capitals staff. Before we go any further, I don't know what he's been accused of. I don't know. And I don't assume you do either, Mitch, and I'm not asking. Point 4, the Boston Red Sox scored 6 runs in the first inning and then hung on to beat the visiting New York Yankees 6-4 Sunday to prevent a 3-game sweep against the Bronx Bombers. The Yankees now trail the Blue Jays in the AL East by 4. Jays open a 4-game series tonight in Tampa. Are you done on the NFL or not as I move to the CFL here in a second?
Up to you.
Well, there's an NFL doubleheader tonight. I think 2 pretty good games. The Bucs are at Houston, and in Vegas, it's the Raiders and Chargers. I should tell you that we're also brought to you by Pump Jacks Cathedral. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. People are writing in about the CFL games, of course. Hour 1, we talk Canadian sports. Noni in Calgary writes in on the Western Dodge text line. She says, "Morning, Rod and Scruffy. I was in Saskatchewan for the Rider game and have to admit it was disappointing and wet, a bad combination. It was a trap game for the Riders, but injuries definitely showed." Riders got trounced Saturday night. It was the only upset of the week. Montreal beating Saskatchewan 48-31 in Mosaic. The other games were Toronto, walk-off field goal beats Edmonton 31-30 on John Candy Day at BMO. Hamilton beat Winnipeg 32-21 Friday night. BC at home beat Ottawa 38-27. Key win for the Lions. What were your takeaways out of Week 15?
How bad the Riders were. It was more than Kerfella Exume on the one corner taking over for the injured Tavon Campbell. They were bad. I don't know if you could say that's their worst performance of the year, considering what Calgary did to them on that Saturday afternoon in the smoke-delayed game at Mosaic. But the Riders were bad, and they're admitting it. Corey Mace, he basically said that we weren't good in the postgame. And that one, to me, that surprised me a lot. The fact that I thought the Riders would come out and win that game by double digits. It was another slow start. Montreal's defense, as bad as they've been offensively this year because of injuries at quarterback, shut that Rider team down until they took control of the game. And yeah, the Riders did get a lot of points, but really at no point in that football game did I think the Riders were going to win, even when they started to make a little bit of a comeback in the third quarter. They were just bad. And I know a lot of people are pointing the finger of blame at Kerfella Exume, who was in for the injured Devon Campbell, who had a terrible night. You know what? Let's point fingers at the defensive line that didn't get any pass rush. Let's point fingers at the defensive coordinator, who is Corey Mace, who did not help Exume out. This was just a bad night for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. At the end of the day, they're still 10-3. I don't think you have to push the panic button, but Roddy, you've been here long enough to know that fans are.
Oh, my God.
They're going to a bye week now, and then they're going to have a big game against Edmonton because I think they're going to have to reestablish themselves after soiling the Little at home.
I was hoping you wouldn't say that there's panic there, but I know there's panic. I see it online. You're living it. Well, like 10-3, they clinched a playoff spot without even winning because Winnipeg and Edmonton lost. They could rest guys for the next 5 games and get healthy if they really wanted to. Now they want first, and it's too early to start resting guys. That's not going to happen until the 17th or 18th game. But, oh, my God, at least it's a break from whining about Brett Lauther's struggles. But you talked about the play of the defense. 530 yards offense.
Yep.
530 yards offense rolled up by Montreal. I'll be honest, McLeod Bethel-Thompson coming back was a factor. They don't win that game without Macbeth. But it's not a given that they were going to win with Macbeth behind center. Montreal, that was a team win for Montreal and a team loss for Saskatchewan.
Yep, and you had a Montreal running back that ran for 100 yards. You can't blame the secondary on that. Did McLeod Bethel-Thompson get sacked? Did he have a lot of pressure on him? Because where was Malik? And again, great players, and you're going to have them. Great players are going to have substandard games, so it's not a criticism of them. But where was Malik Carney? Where was Micah Johnson? Where was Jameer Thurman? Everybody wants to point their fingers at number 20. I understand that. But where were the other guys?
Sammy Gahagan is watching in Daytona Beach, Florida. He says, I love Deggy coming in and leading the Argos on that game-winning drive. Nice redemption. He's going to start this week and do well. I said, Sammy's a football guy, scout for many teams. He's one of those guys that doesn't cheer for teams. He cheers for players. If I'm saying that right, Jared Daggy, I believe I am. It's the same spelling as Seth Daggy, but I don't think they're related.
I think it's his brother, isn't it?
Oh, it's his brother? Okay, then I'm saying it right.
They're related somewhere down the line.
Okay. Who's now, or last I heard, I think the quarterback's coach at Texas Tech. Guys move around so much, it's hard to keep track of. But I put it.
I heard.
What?
I was just going to say, I heard Seth Daggy's name on a game this weekend.
Maybe he's in Green Bay. I don't remember. It's hard to keep track of. It's Green Bay sounds right. Or is that Graham Harrell that's there, another former Texas Tech and Rough Rider quarterback? I can't remember. But I said in my 10 Things column that I enjoy going back with CFL fans, and I do, particularly Argos fans. I mean, here's Sammy, giving kudos to Deggy. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he goes, on an afternoon with John Candy's spirit hovering over BMO Field and the Argos trying to give the game away with 6 turnovers, the Scullers pulled together for their second dramatic walk-off win in a row. How about that? It was, and it was their 3rd overall. And Mitch, I just sit here and wonder, when are CFL fans going to realize you're never out of it? When the Argos were at 2 wins, their fans were writing them off and saying, oh, we're going to go watch the Blue Jays now. The Argos season's over. Now they're 5-8, and in the playoff picture, they still got to do some winning to get into the playoffs. But in the CFL, dude, when are they going to realize you're never out of it until you're out of it?
Yeah, no, you're right. If the CFL, and I'd have to look at the standings this week to see what they are 1 through 9. You and I have had that argument for years. I think the CFL should scrap East-West and go to a 9-team conference, top 6 making playoffs. But I'd have to look to see where Toronto would slot in there. But you're right. And we've seen in the CFL, like it is with any league, Rod. All you have to do is get in, and when you get in, you never know what could happen.
That's why I say the Riders clinched. They're the first team to do that. It's funny because Jeff the Stamps fan is crowing mightily in the comments section today. Jeff the Stamps fan, despite the fact his team didn't even play this weekend. He says, breaking news, Stampeders back to number 1 in the power rankings. Proper. Well, they haven't clinched the playoff spot yet. Yeah, no, Saskatchewan's still 10-3. If the Riders and Stamps play this weekend, who wins?
If they played this weekend?
Yeah.
Calgary.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Scott,
you know what? If you asked me this question and we were going into the Western Final, I'd say Calgary right now. But there's a long ways to go between now and the Western Final, whether it be played at McMahon or whether it be played at Mosaic. But right now, after what Calgary has done to the Riders twice, the Riders obviously didn't learn from the mistakes they made when Calgary beat them the first time. Are they going to learn the second time, going to the third? If they played right now, I would take Calgary, but we're a long ways away from the Western Final.
One thing about the Riders, after they get spanked, they come out swinging the next week.
Yep.
That's the one thing about the Riders. We've seen it this week. Wayne in BC, with the smartest thing he's ever said. He says, who cares about power rankings? That's the great question. Who cares?
The fans.
I couldn't. The fans, right, and the media that puts them. I didn't even know they were out. I pay so little attention to it. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, rest guys? I'm not saying they should. What I'm saying is they could. But that's not something you generally do until game 18. But as I said, the Rough Riders have clinched a playoff spot. The Calgary Stampeders have not. Devin in Burns Lake, BC, writes in and says, everyone is beatable. Clearly. But I think people need to realize, Mitchell, that they never do. But I've realized this from my years of calling games, being around it, and talking to the coaches. The regular season is for lesson learning and staying healthy if you can. And the playoffs are for putting those lessons into good use, because when you shoot yourself in the foot there, you're done. But you can have the odd bad day at the office, and that's what it was for the Rough Riders on Saturday, in my mind.
Yeah, it was. And the good thing for the Riders, like what you just said, we're still in the regular season. They're 10-3. They have 5 games to play yet. If the Saskatchewan Rough Riders had done that in a playoff game where it's one and done, uh-oh. But you could say that about any team.
Yeah. Carlos in Indianapolis writes in, he says, the power rankings matter in college. Oh, do they ever? And that reminds me, what was your college football viewing focus? I had several, but it's not the same as everybody else's. Florida Atlantic beat Florida International in the Shula Bowl. Nobody cares about the people here. Miami Hurricanes had their way with South Florida in a game that was delayed by weather. Everybody's talking about that here. Florida State University has moved up in those power rankings. That's kind of what I'm watching. And Arch Manning was booed at home despite the Longhorns winning. What were your takeaways?
Georgia, Tennessee was fantastic. That was the game of the weekend for me. Sadly for Tennessee, they did not come away with the victory, even though they deserved to win that game. I think Tennessee is going to be heard from on the national stage before all is said and done. Notre Dame getting beat by Texas A&M, that's a tough one for the Fighting Irish. You know I'm not a big Notre Dame fan, so I'm okay with that. Michigan, hammered Central Michigan, but that's a powder puff on the schedule. It was another good weekend of college football. And if you look around far enough and you got so many games, you're going to find some good ones. But Georgia, Tennessee, that was everything that was advertised.
Went to overtime, and Jim Barker said on Friday's show here that was going to be the game of the weekend, and he was right. One more segment with Mitch coming up after the break, everybody. If you got any questions for Scruffy, he can handle them all. 902-518-3033, Western Dodge text line. And a doubleheader tonight, a true doubleheader, not concurrent games in the NFL. Bucks at Texans, Chargers at Raiders. What do you think will be the better game out of the two?
Ooh. Bucks and Texans?
Yeah?
I'm not sold on the Raiders.
Well, they're 1-0. And coming out of that game tonight, they're playing the 1-0 Chargers. One of those teams will be 2-0 in the AFC West in a division with the 0-2 Kansas City Chiefs. That's the one thing. If you're the Chiefs, you don't want to get too far behind, right? They're used to owning that division for a decade.
And if you're the Chiefs, after losing to the Chargers, you're hoping it's the Raiders that come out on top tonight.
I would think so, for sure. And I love the timing of this. The early game, Bucks at Texans, is 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll be able to watch more of that than normal. That's the one thing, Mitch, you wouldn't love about living in the East. Those late start times. And then I think it's 10:15 Eastern, Chargers at the Raiders on the Vegas Strip. We'll be back in a moment. Get your questions and comments in. 902-518-3033. Hang on, Eric and BC. We'll get to yours and many more in the YouTube chat. We'll be back in a moment on Game Plus TV, YouTube, live, podcast, and Mission Radio.
Country's hottest party is coming. James Barker Band, Bud Light Buckle Up Tour 2025. Live across Canada with special guests Ryan and Rory. November 20th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. James Barker Band Live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour one brought to you in part by Outlaw Communications, where creativity isn't a hobby, it's a way of life. From strategic communications to leadership training and conversational content, we help your message connect and inspire. Scruffy's with us, but for only this last segment. Matt Dubuc coming up in hour two, three-time state high school football champion here in Florida and a CFL alum with the Argos and the Bombers. Mitch, speaking of Mitch, you saw me glance over the Mitch Love news. He has been placed on paid leave by the Washington Capitals amid an NHL investigation. I don't know anything about it. Obviously, you and I assume you know him. We've had him on this show. I've known him a long time, called his games when he was playing. Had him on this show as the coach of the Blades and the Wranglers. I'm hoping for the best, but I don't know. I don't know what the allegations are, nor why he's suspended by his team. I'm just going to put that out there. I don't assume you do, and even if you did, I wouldn't.
I don't. I don't. The first I saw of it was the Chris Johnston tweet yesterday, which came out late in the first half of the first window of games in the NFL. And to tell you the truth, I went out for the afternoon window last night to watch some games, the Philly-Kansas City game, the Denver-Indy game with a good friend. And then came home last night, watched the Sunday night game, and really didn't put a lot of stock into it, and had sort of forgotten about it until you just mentioned it a few minutes ago. By the way, we talked about Seth Deggy. He's the offensive coordinator at the University of Arizona, and they beat Kansas State Friday night on Fox to go to 3-0. So that's where he is now.
And as Sammy, the football guy watching in Daytona Beach, wrote in and says that is the brother of Jared Daggy, the Argos quarterback. On that college football vein, BC Eric writes in, he says, Florida State might actually be good. Maybe not as bad a loss for Alabama as people thought. No, it's not what they used to be. But you're talking about the week one loss for the Crimson Tide in Tallahassee. It's fun times in college football, and we can spend more time on that in hour two. The poll question today, just updating it for EMJ Marketing. Who will be the first coach fired in the NFL? Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in. He says, maybe I should change my vote. Mike McDaniel to be fired first. Was that because of what I said? Let's just go back to this NFL thing for a second, because we spent a lot of time on the CFL last segment. The Dolphins are the worst team in the NFL, I think. And by the way, if we want to be positive, the surprise team's got to be the Colts. I mean, speaking of records, they're the first team in NFL history to score on their first 10 possessions of a season. They scored on their first 10. They still haven't punted through 2 games. I didn't see that coming out of Indy.
Not with Daniel Jones as quarterback.
They're calling him Indiana Jones, by the way. Have you seen that?
I know. I love that.
Didn't take long. Did not take long, did it? Sammy, by the way, says McDaniel is gone. Bring in Gruden. Tua is awful. Never liked him coming out. We should have taken Herbert. Coming out of Alabama, he's talking about. Well, as we sit here now, it's a legitimate question, by the way. Who will be the next coach of the Dolphins? I'll say it again. I was driving to the Keys on Friday. 3 stations that I listened to, they're all talking about how bad McDaniel is and he's got to go. And that was before they lost to the Patriots. Well, number one, Gruden's basically got to be cleared. Have you and I discussed this? I don't think you and I have. I don't think John Gruden ever coaches in the NFL again, or at least not as long as Roger Goodell's around.
Didn't something come out a while back that said that Gruden could go back and coach, or am I missing something?
No. The Nevada court ruled that his lawsuit against the NFL can go ahead.
Right.
But
yeah, I think as long as that lawsuit is still before the courts, John Gruden isn't going to be patrolling a sideline anytime soon. Here's a name for you, and I don't think he would, because I think it would be he'd go back to college, and you talked about his college a minute ago, but he did used to coach the Dolphins. Would you throw a you-know-what full of money at Nick Saban?
No, no. That just, I was out for dinner last
I wouldn't
night.
either, but I just throw it out there because, like, there's already people talking about him coming back to Alabama to take over for Kalen DeBoer, and I don't think that's happening because I think Nick is very happy doing what he's doing with College Game Day, and I think he's going to have a bigger role with the CFP, with the selection committee and stuff like that, and the NIL stuff. But I just throw it out there because I right off the top of my head, I can't think of another head coach right now that's looking for a job.
You're thinking of guys that are available, but Sammy in Daytona Beach, if that's where you are, Sammy, I'm assuming that's where you're at. He says Mike McCarthy would be good. I mean, there's one.
Yeah.
And Sammy also says Saban won't coach again. He loves his new position. Well, I was out for supper with a couple buddies last night. My neighbor Fish, who's born and bred South Florida guy, born and raised, and he goes, we call him Nick Satan. Nick Satan around here. No, that just came up at dinner last night at New York Prime. But I'm thinking, why not Belichick? You know he's got an out. And I saw polls when he was hired in January, or pundits saying that he won't make August 1st, which, by the way, they won on the weekend. They speedboated Richmond to their 2-1 under Belichick. I could see him bolting Chapel Hill for an NFL opportunity. Couldn't you?
Not right now. If this was before the season, I could. But Bill Belichick will last 1 year at North Carolina and then see what happens. And
Utah. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Roddy. And I think there's a little bit of a blackball movement with Bill Belichick in the NFL for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I think that Bill Belichick should have had a job in the NFL this year. But for whatever reason, teams didn't want to hire him.
It's something that maybe Sammy could tell us more of as a football guy. Utah Darren writes in and he says Gruden has been unofficially been given a lifetime ban from coaching in the NFL. Sure, but you say unofficially, where's it written? That's that unspoken thing where the owners all get together at the meetings here in Florida and go out for a dart and they talk about it, but it's not written down anywhere. Why did Shedeur Sanders slip to the 5th round? Where's it written that everybody was told not to touch this guy? It was, but it's unwritten. That's the whole idea of an unwritten rule, right? But it's very hard to believe that Bill Belichick would be banned, or not banned, but blackballed in the NFL. But he is. 6 Super Bowls. What did you think about that news last week that he banned all Patriot scouts from their facility in North Carolina? What did you think of that?
I found it odd. There's a lot to Bill Belichick that we just don't know. And I don't know how much of that goes back to what Bill's side piece is right now, but
it's his main piece, not his side piece. That's his main piece. That's his main piece.
Well, good for Bill.
Sammy goes on to say his girlfriend will love South Florida. He may come. I'm just throwing that name out because going into the season, the 3 names that I saw to be the next coach of the Dolphins were Gruden, Belichick, Ryan Day from college, or other. And Rich in Edmonton says, Mike McCarthy? I'm like, why do you say that with a question mark? He's available after being fired in Dallas.
How about Bill Belichick's defensive coordinator?
Belichick Jr.?
Well,
Chris Jones isn't the defensive coordinator there, just so you know. I think the title is defensive.
He was DC.
No. Belichick's kid is. Belichick's kid is.
Oh,
Chris Jones is like a defensive consultant or something. He's breaking down film. That's from...
I was told he was DC.
No.
Oh, okay.
902-518-3033 is the text line. What else you got, Mitchell? Were you following? We're less than 2 minutes here. Were you following NHL prospects tourneys this weekend?
No, because none of those guys are not very many are going to end up playing with the big team. I haven't really gotten. The Western Hockey League season starts next Friday night. Where did the time go?
Oh, bro. FAU is playing this weekend. You might have seen I'm broadcasting the game. Yep. Georgia Tech at FAU here in the Keys this weekend. Our Bree turns to me, one of the gals we was with, and she's like, "Are they playing already?" Yeah, Hockey started. Here in Florida, it's hard to believe, because there's so much other stuff going on. I would like to think in Canada with the leaves turning, Mitch, you would be not shocked that hockey's starting up.
I am when I look at the calendar and see we're only in mid-September. To me, hockey season should start around Thanksgiving. But I'm also a guy that thinks that hockey season should end at the long weekend in May.
Die-hard football guy, yeah. Okay, Scruffy, great job. Have a great week.
You too.
We'll be right back, everybody, after this on Game Plus.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We will, I hope, get to a sports update, but we got a lot of comments loaded up from the viewers, and that's what we love the most. The sports update is brought to you by Ultimate Fan Zone. Are you looking for the hottest fan gear? Swing by Ultimate Fan Zone Sports Store in Moose Jaw or shop online at ultimatefanzone.ca, where real fans get their gear. You know what I'm saying? Real fans, not the phony variety. Just buttoning up, wrapping up a few things from our chat with Scruffy Rich in Edmonton writes, and he says, why did he mention Thanksgiving? Now I'm craving turkey. That's the beautiful thing about being in America. We get 2 Thanksgivings as Canadians living in America, the October one and the November one. And when Mitch said hockey shouldn't start until Thanksgiving, I'm like, the 3rd week of November? Oh, wait. You meant the 2nd weekend of October. I think that's what it is. Now he's hungry for turkey. Oh, and Jeff the Stamps fan says, yes, hockey should end in May like it used to. Flames won the cup on May 25th. By the way, speaking of hockey, no, I don't agree with that. Earlier the better, and go as long as you can. On the weekend when we were in the Keys, we had a boat captain by the name of Angel, and he talked about how he works 12 to 14-hour days and that he loves it. He doesn't feel like work. Told us how much he made, what he does. Fishing is his thing. Born and raised in the Florida Keys. Thank you, Brent from Wellington, Florida. Bree and the crew for a fantastic weekend, by the way. And I thought, what could I do 12 to 14 hours a day that I would never get tired of? It doesn't feel like work. You know what that is? Talking hockey. And I told Moose this morning. Probably the greatest week of my life was the Centennial Cup in Calgary. Centennial Cup in Estevan. My bad. 3 games a day, and we were there for 8 days. It was the greatest thing ever. That's why I never get tired of it and doesn't feel like work talking hockey. On this poll question today for EMJ Marketing, which, by the way, connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing Speakers Bureau. Check them out at emjmarketing.com. Who will be the first coach fired in the NFL? The options are Mike McDaniel, who's leading the poll here in Miami. Also, we've got Kevin Stefanski of the 0-2 Browns. Who else did we put on there? It's not Andy Reid. Oh, Brian Daboll of the Giants. Where, by the way, I can sit and talk football for a long time too, but I get tired of it. I don't get tired of talking about hockey at all. That's something that you probably should know about me. I'll just say this. As I was driving to the gym this morning, put it on WQAM, the biggest of the many all-sports radio stations here. And Joe Rose, the color guy for the Dolphins and the morning show host, used to play for them. He was already tired of talking about how bad the Dolphins are. And he's like, can we just get to Thursday already? Because they're going up to Buffalo to lose there. What everybody's talking about around here, and you people might have seen it, was the plane flying overhead at Hard Rock Stadium on the weekend, on Sunday, with a sign that said, fire McDaniel, fire Chris Greer, the GM. Like, it's a foregone conclusion. And that's why I think Mike McDaniel was catatonic after the game at the news conference. He didn't know what to say at this point. So now the talk is who will be the next coach. And it's like, you guys, like, are you not listening? I love you, the viewers, I love you, but you got to open your ears. You hear, but you don't listen. Darcy in Grand Prairie, Alberta writes, and he says, yes to Gruden in Miami. And says the Riders should get the CFL rights to Anthony Richardson. Well, that ain't happening either. He's on his first contract in the NFL with Indy. But back to the Gruden and Miami thing. I'll say it again. I mean, you watch every day, Darcy. You're awesome. But Gruden's not probably ever going to coach in the NFL again. And as the gentleman said, there's an unofficial ban on John Gruden in the NFL by the commissioner, Roger Goodell. So as long as Roger Goodell's in charge, John Gruden ain't coaching anywhere. So pick somebody else. And I could see Belichick bouncing. Mind you, he's blackballed too. So who knows? Unbelievable. Rich in Edmonton writes, and he says, now that you've done the Keys, Rod, time to go north to Amelia Island. No. It's not like I haven't been to the Keys before. Been there like a dozen times. This is the first time that I had my Jeep there. It was amazing. And I did stop in at Jimmy Johnson's. Stuck my head over the counter, and I said to a chef was out, just hanging out. And I said, is Jimmy Johnson here? And he goes, Mr. Johnson, don't come see us. Why would he come see you? I'll take that as a no. Brent in Wellington, Florida says, if hockey ends a month early, it only adds additional emotional withdrawal. Thank you, Brent. He was one of the fine folks I was with this weekend in the Keys. So Amelia Island, I mean, sure, at some point, probably try to get there, but it's that right now is not on the list. I could go to the Keys every weekend. News. Our news update. Joe Burrow left the Bengals locker room on crutches on Sunday with a boot on his left foot after injuring his toe during the second quarter of Cincinnati's 31-27 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Bengals are seeking second opinions on the injury. By the way, they say the most stressful jobs, first responders, firemen, policemen, ambulance personnel. For some reason, they say radio DJs. I've done it. It's not that stressful. And I would say being an NFL team doctor, or for that matter, a team doctor, period. I know doctors that have said, I'm out. Nope. For a variety of reasons. The Bengals are going to try. They're going to go talk to every doctor in Cincinnati until they find one that says Joe Burrow can play. I'm pretty sure here in Miami, and Brent, he's not a Dolphins fan, but he lives here. I'm pretty sure the Dolphins fired their doctor because he said Tua couldn't come back and play. They fired him. And if you notice, he played yesterday. Not well, but he played. Oh, and the Cowboys, by the way, Dallas, if you're watching, not the city, my friend Dallas, who watches in the Queen City all the time. I didn't become a Dak believer, but I didn't believe he could lead the team on the drive to tie or win the game, and he did. Dak Prescott was amazing for the Cowboys yesterday. I don't believe they're a contender. I saw somebody call them a contender on the television Sunday morning. I almost threw my coffee at the TV. They're not a contender. They missed the playoffs last year with Micah Parsons. I'm not that guy that's saying, oh, it's only the Giants. It doesn't matter who you beat. Confidence building, all the rest. Yeah, I became more of a Dak believer yesterday, but make the playoffs, and then we'll go from there. Texas A&M made a big jump into the top 10 of the Associated Press college football poll Sunday after its dramatic win at Notre Dame, and the Irish became the first team since 1988 to stay in the top 25 with an 0-2 record. Ohio State, Penn State, and LSU remained the top three teams, with Miami moving up to number 4 and Georgia to number 5, even after a close call at number 15, Tennessee. Scruffy talked about that earlier, the game that went to overtime. Oregon slipped 2 spots to number 6, despite a 20-point road win against Northwestern, and was followed by Florida State, Texas, Illinois, and the Aggies. The sports update is brought to you by, as we mentioned, UFZ Moose Jaw, Ultimate Fan Zone. 902-518-3033. Get your questions and comments in, everybody, as we keep rolling and get into hour 2. It'll be just me for the opening segment, talking sports, getting more of your feedback. And then in the second segment of hour 2, we will be joined by Matt Dubuc. And he's one of those beautiful people that can speak all levels of sport. No, not sport. Football. NFL, CFL. He watches all the games. We text back and forth. College and high school. 3-time state champion here as coach. Won a Grey Cup with the Argos. He was Doug Flutie's roommate. Brent in Wellington, Florida says, a nice job catching your first blackfin tuna. We did not throw it back. We ate him. Brent was very happy to learn that I found this photo. It was tucked away in a tickle trunk. This is Brent from Wellington, Florida, right here. He took me out. That was a sailfish that we caught a number of years ago now. That's who I was with this weekend. So I found it, Brent, as I told you. We're talking about the 8, the London 8, the hockey players that were found not guilty in the sexual assault case going. I'm just saying the viewers are talking about it. I don't see any need for us to talk about it here today. Not right now. 902-518-3033. Just getting caught up on everything. And when we come back in hour two, we will re-up the Quick Six show topics and talk a little more about tonight's NFL doubleheader. This is a true doubleheader, not two concurrent games, which everybody hates. It's these Buccaneers at the Texans in the early game. I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern kickoff. And then 10:15 p.m. Chargers-Raiders in a huge game in Las Vegas. To be honest, I was a little surprised. Mitchell thought the early game would be the better of the two. I do not. This is first place in the AFC West on the line. I know it's very early, but one of those teams, Chargers or Raiders, will jump out to a 2-0 start. And with the Chiefs at 0-2, it's clutch. Sammy in Daytona Beach says, will the Mets lose the wild card? Lost 8 of their last. You're a Braves fan, Sammy. To be honest, if it ain't Blue Jays, we're not following it that close. We got enough on our hands with all levels of football and, of course, hockey, which I'm pretty sure, Sammy, you ain't into. But if you got questions for Matt Dubuc, because I got several, let's get them in. We'll be right back right after this on Game Plus TV.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome on up inside the RP Show. Hour 2 coming your way here on the Game Plus Television Network, YouTube Live podcast, and 1700 Mission Radio for our fans down there in the U.S. South. Beginning September 29th, by the way, we will be live daily in Las Vegas on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, part of Fox 5 Las Vegas. We're looking forward to that date. Okay, before we re-up the quick six show topics, I'll tell you two things. Number one, Matt Dubuc is coming up in the next segment, and I'm very interested. Matt's a great friend of mine here in South Florida, the coach of the Cardinal Gibbons High School Chiefs. That's their helmet that he gave me that adorns our set every day. And I want to ask about these kickers, how it became routine that 50-plus yarders are nothing to them anymore, and just the overall athleticism of the players. Did you see Cam Ward's first career touchdown for the Titans yesterday? And he threw it to Medicine Hat's Elik Ayamaner. I mean, I don't know what's going on. That's a smaller thing, but as far as the kickers go, there's just some unbelievable athletic feats that are being done that the likes of which have never been done before. And it's not steroids, I don't think. Is it added training time? Is it what they're eating? I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. And Sammy writes in, by the way, from Daytona Beach, Florida, because I said he probably doesn't follow hockey, and I should clarify this. He says, I love hockey. I grew up on Lindros, Leclerc, Gagne, Hextall, Coffee, you name it. Don't profile me because I'm a Floridian. Okay. My bad. And by the way, that's, people talk about the popularity of our Cats and Bolts podcast down here. There's a lot more hockey fans than you would think. And Sammy says it's just like pitchers throwing 100. Right. Everyone can. Every guy can shoot a puck 100 mile an hour. That's the stick. That's the stick that in that case. But as far as these athletic accomplishments and achievements, it's just blowing my mind. Anyways, okay, this is what we've been talking about today. Quick six show topics. Number one, the big story, football weekend. And I said, like, Mitch is a Seahawks fan, has been as long as I know him, and that's decades. They went into Pittsburgh and won, and that was not a surprise to anybody. The Dallas-New York game, because I was saying this to Moose this morning. My phone was blowing up from my Florida friends going, are you going to the Dolphins game? Are you going to the Dolphins game? I'm like, no, I'm not interested in going to the Dolphins games ever, really. But I'm going home to watch the Cowboys. That's what I'm doing. I want to be home in time because we're coming back from the Keys. And it was the game, just saying the game of the day. It was by far the game of the day. It was the game of the year, and it'll be tough to top. There were 6 lead changes in the game. The Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. 6 that tied an NFL record, and then Brandon Aubrey hits a 64-yard field goal to tie it and send it to overtime. I don't need to tell you what Chris from the Bronx said, the Giants fan friend of mine. We were about to go out to dinner. He couldn't leave his home because his Giants were about to lose to my Cowboys. It's another bet that I won. But anyways, Aubrey's 64-yarder at the end of regulation and then a 46-yarder at the end of overtime. That's never happened before either. The one kicker would do that. The Dallas Giants game was the biggest of the weekend. And then I was going back and forth between that and the Dolphins game. And the thing is, those two games were very similar, except when Dak had the ball in his hands late and he rallied the Cowboys to win, Tua couldn't do that for the Dolphins. And they lost 33-27. But that was also a history-making game, too. There was a punt return touchdown in that game, and on the very next play, a kick return touchdown. And that's only the second time in NFL history that had ever happened. So it was a very exciting NFL Sunday. And then after the game, Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Dolphins, was catatonic, is the term that I'm using at the podium for the Dolphins. And it's sad when you see these things play out. Mike McDaniel was already on the hot seat going into the season. I remember when he was hired here 4 years ago. Oh, my God, they thought he was the greatest thing ever, career assistant in the NFL, the professor. Everybody thought he was so cool. Now, as I was driving to the Keys on Friday, there are 5 all-sports radio stations. Okay, 5. Florida. I was listening to 3 of them. You can't listen to 5 at once. And on all 3 stations on Friday afternoon, they're all saying how much the hosts were saying how much they hate Mike McDaniel and how he should be gone and who the next coach should be of the Dolphins. And if you see any of the clips, he was like, we try to win, but we lost. And that makes it hard to win. A lot of stress on these guys. But here's the thing about pro football. Get out the way. Get out the way. Because there's somebody that'll take your spot. I think Mike McDaniel's done. And as Joe Rose was saying on the radio here, 560 WQAM, let's just get to Thursday. Because that's when they're playing the Bills up there, but they're not going to win. Probably the last game McDaniel coaches, and that's the poll question today. Who will be the first coach fired? 3 0-2 coaches here. Brian Daboll of the Giants, Kevin Stefanski of the Browns, or Mike McDaniel, or other. Scruffy thinks it'll be Zach Taylor of the Bengals, but they won yesterday. They got the Browns in their division, and Joe Burrow will be back before the end of the season. I don't think it'll be Zach Taylor, but I guess we'll find out. A probably more fun poll question for our friends at EMJ Marketing would have been who will be the next coach of the Dolphins, and we were kicking that around in hour 1. I wouldn't even put Gruden as an option. He's blackballed. Belichick appears to be blackballed, but there's Mike McCarthy, Ryan Day's names come up. Maybe it's somebody we've never even heard of. That happens, So anyways, that's the buzz around here. Point 2, there are 2 games in the NFL tonight, including one on the Vegas Strip, where the Las Vegas Raiders host the Los Angeles Chargers in a battle of 1-0 teams. That's a big one. 10:15 Eastern kickoff. In the other game, the 1-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers visit the 0-1 Houston Texans. Of the 2, I think the late game will be better, but I'll be long gone to bed before they kick that sucker off. It's the great thing about living in the East time zone. Every morning it's Christmas. You get up and see what happened the night before. We're brought to you in part by Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon. They bring you our weekly CFL and NFL picks. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. We did a Week 15 Canadian Football League recap. These were your scores. And probably didn't spend as much time on this with Mitch last hour as some would have liked, or even me, but the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, without former league MVP and 2-time Grey Cup champion quarterback Zach Collaros, went into Hamilton and lost with Chris Streveler, a quarterback, to the hometown Hamilton Tiger Cats 32-21. This is in my column today at rodpeterson.com. Somebody needs to be blamed for the fact that the Bombers can't win games without Zach Collaros. Now, in 2019, they did with Chris Streveler. It's a long time ago now. That is 7 seasons ago. And right now, I'm blaming Chris Streveler because the guys that are the good football men in Winnipeg, Mike O'Shea and Kyle Walters, they're not dumb. They didn't get dumb. They know what they're doing. They thought Chris Streveler would be a capable backup. He's not. And we'll see how this plays out. But they're in danger of missing the playoffs, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And what I saw online from their fan base and even their media, they're panicking there. And I get it. It's just funny, does this pass the spell check? In Winnipeg, they're not used to losing. And any of us with a little age and that were following the CFL for a long time, that sounds odd to say for a team that went 30 years between Grey Cup wins. But it's now true. They've been in the last 5 Grey Cups. They're not used to losing. And they're panicking over there. It's too late to bring in another guy, so it's not good for them. Late game Friday night, a massive win for the BC Lions. They beat Ottawa 38-27, and they now own the final playoff spot, which is 4th in the West. The crossover is alive. Massive game Saturday at BMO Field, the first of a doubleheader. Toronto Argonauts a walk-off win over the Edmonton Elcamos, 31-30. Cody Fajardo, a costly fourth-quarter fumble on a sack. They gave it up, and the Argos went on to win 31-30. Toronto's won 3 in a row. And I will let it slide for the Argos fans that were writing off their team a month ago when they were 2-8. Now they're 5-8 and rolling. Tough loss for Edmonton, who's now out of a playoff spot. And then Saturday night, we covered this quite a bit with Scruffy. Montreal went into Saskatchewan and motorboated the Rough Riders 48-31. Nobody saw that coming. Montreal had lost 5 in a row, but Macbeth returned to the Alouettes lineup out damn spot. And towards the Saskatchewan defense to the tune of 530 yards. What was the name of the running back for Montreal? Sammy Scott or Stuart Scott or Stevie Scott, something? That's the one problem that the CFL has, with me anyways, is I don't know who a lot of these players are. But they're making a name for themselves. Mitchell said they're scrambling and they're panicking in the Rider Nation. Of course they are. It's a day that ends in Y. Riders 10-3 now with the loss, but they clinched a playoff berth despite the loss with Edmonton and Winnipeg losing. So, but they're going to panic. Fortunately, I don't have to pay any attention to it. BC Eric writes in and he says, what did the NFL see in Strevler? I'm not seeing it anymore. I don't know what it is either. Chief Johnny Mohan in Winnipeg says, this is going to be good. CFL recap. I hope you've enjoyed the recap and my analysis on Chris Strevler. Seems like a real nice guy. Looks good in a fur coat. But as John Frenzy says, nice guys run the Kinsman Club. It's too bad, but when they say nice guys finish last, I think that is a pro football term. 902-518-3033 is the text line for Western Dodge. I didn't think I was going to need these again, but I do. From trucks to SUVs, Western Dodge has what you're looking for. Visit them in Moose Jaw or online at westerndodge.ca. Kelly writes in, he's in the Queen City, and he says, Bombers, go get Chad Kelly in Toronto. Have a great week. Huskies Rams this week in Saski. Yes, it's Friday night at Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon, a Hardy Cup preview. Moose will be there to call it. The CFL trade deadline is coming up in a couple weeks' time. Maybe that would be a good poll question. Should Winnipeg go out and acquire Chad Kelly? But I get the sense that the Argos are not interested in giving him up. One more on this. Kirk from Toronto writes in, he says, hey, Rod, BMO Field will be rocking on Friday night with the return of Macbeth along with Luke Wilson and TSN's Overdrive crew. South end zone seats are waiting. Here is your CFL Week 16 sked. Montreal at Toronto Friday, first of a doubleheader. Then the BC Lions at the Calgary Stampeders West Division collision. Saturday, another doubleheader. Winnipeg at Ottawa and Edmonton at Hamilton. By the way, it is a big week coming up on the RP show. We got Mike Richards coming in tomorrow in our guest spot. We have the voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Josh Getzoff will be joining us on Wednesday as our special guest. I'm not sure yet what's going down Thursday, but yeah, big week here on the RP show. Arlen Bruce III writes in, he says, great morning, RP. Ban it. My Chiefs need DBs and a game-breaker running back. They didn't look themselves yesterday, did they? Travis Kelce looks lost. Pacheco, you couldn't find his stats with a search party. And you know, that, by the way, that was a poll question last year after the Super Bowl on this show. Are the Chiefs done? Or do they get back? I think they're done. I think they're done. 902-518-3033. I got hung up on the football. I feel like Bobby Boucher's mom. Baseball, .4. The Boston Red Sox scored 6 runs in the first inning and then hung on to beat the visiting Yankees 6-4 Sunday to prevent a 3-game sweep against the Bronx Bombers. Carlos Narvaez hit his 14th home run of the year for the Red Sox. Aaron Judge, Ahmed Rosario, and Jose Caballero hit homers for the Yankees, who now trail the AL East leading Blue Jays by 4. The Jays open a 4-game series tonight in Tampa. Righty Trey Yesavage has been called up from AAA Buffalo to make his MLB debut against the Rays. A hockey note coming out of the weekend, .5 of the Quick Six. Washington Capitals assistant coach Mitch Love has been placed on a team-imposed leave pending results of an NHL investigation. the Capitals announced on Sunday. The 41-year-old from Quesnel, BC, has been with the Capitals since June of 2023 after Spencer Carberry was hired as Washington's head coach. He has primarily worked with the team's defensemen. Love was previously an assistant coach with the Everett Silvertips of the Dub, head coach with the Saskatoon Blades. He was a head coach with the AHL Stockton Heat and Calgary Wranglers before joining the Capitals staff. He's been on this show multiple times. I've known him so long, I called his games when he was a player. I think this has shocked a lot of people. I don't know anything about it. And what I will say is ask the insiders, everybody that's blowing up my phone. Ask Elliot Friedman. These are the insiders. The insiders should be the ones reporting on this, not little old me. None of my business. Just hope that it is comes to a positive conclusion for all involved. 902-518-3033. Get your football questions in for Matt Dubuc, who joins us next on the Western Dodge text line, 902-518-3033, or the YouTube chat. We'll be talking ball for all and maybe a little hockey with Coach Dubuc when we return here on Game Plus Television.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. From the studio to your closet or cupboards. How about this? Shop official RP show gear at rodpeterson.com. Click on RP store. We got to get Coach Dubuc some of this, a coffee mug. I probably get you one, Coach, or a hoodie or a T-shirt. Matt Dubuc joining us, CFL alum, 3-time Florida State high school coach champion. How you doing, Coach?
Good. How you doing?
Good. You coach the Chiefs, but for this portion, we're going to talk Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to start here. Are the Kansas City Chiefs done?
I don't think so. They're probably 2 pieces away from getting going again. Maybe Tyreek Hill will go back. That's the rumor today down here. But I don't think so. I mean, anytime you have Patrick Mahomes, I think you got a chance. And I think they'll give him what he needs. But I think Kelsey is probably his better days are way behind.
Mm-hmm.
He looks
He looks old and slow and certainly distracted. But here you go. Matt Dubuc is saying the Kansas City Chiefs are not done. Next one. Tonight, we have a Monday night football doubleheader. The Buccaneers at the Texans, followed by the Chargers at the Raiders. Which will be the better game?
I like the Buccaneers game. I like the coach. I think he's done a good job. Baker Mayfield's fun to watch, competitive. So I would go with Tampa Bay.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Because the winner of the night game takes over sole possession of first in the AFC West. But there's reasons to watch both games tonight. They're going to be fantastic. And I know you want to talk CFL, and we're going to get around to some college too. But you've been hard on the Dolphins for as long as I've known you, and I feel like they're at the worst shape they've been since I've known you. What's your take on the Fins?
You know, if you're an old school, old grown guy and you grew up going to the games at the Orange Bowl and watching Dan Marino and Mark Clayton, Mark Duper, Joe Rose, Hardy, the Killer Bees, and then you watch what you have here now, it's almost a combination of college football. At UCLA the other night, you know, $60 million payroll, and it didn't look like, you know, the Lobos went in there and slapped them around, and it didn't even look like they were motivated to play the game. So I see that with the Dolphins too. It's kind of apathy. Maybe it's probably time for a coaching change. He's lost the fan base, I can tell you that. And, you know, he came in with all these ideas, and the first year and a half, Tyreek was really explosive, and then it just has gone south quick, like going to Key West south.
Well, listen, you've coached a long time, and you played at a very high level and won championships. What did you think of McDaniel's post-game news conference last night? Like he was on another planet mentally.
I haven't liked a news conference from him in 2 years. I'm old school. I'm not for, you know, the joggers out there and the crazy sunglasses and all that stuff. Like I don't wear a tie, but I'm a Tom Landry type guy. You know, clean cut, get out there and put something, make yourself look like a leader and not as part of the band, I should say. And I think that's what it's come down to in Miami. And Greer's been here for 9 years and has not done anything to make us into the playoff team that we should. So I think there's going to be massive change. If they get bounced around by Buffalo, which is a great possibility, there'll be a change there. And you know, I'd love to have John Gruden or somebody like that that's fiery and feisty and knows the game of football and respects on how it's supposed to be played.
Listen, I would like to switch gears, but I can't switch gears on that topic. John Gruden, like after that topic, John Gruden is basically banned, is he not? And for that matter, it appears Belichick is too. Like, do you really think there's a chance Gruden would be the next coach here?
I've heard his name pop up for the Florida Gators. So if he can play, if he can coach in college football, you know, why couldn't he coach in the NFL? I'm not 100% on what went down, but I do know that some of the things that were said were taken out of context from what the reports are. I'm not a reporter. But in the world we're living in today, everybody gets a second chance. I don't know why he would.
Because Roger Goodell has a personal issue with him. That's how he can coach in college, but not the NFL. That's my belief, and that's coming out of Las Vegas, and you and I both have the same contacts there, so you probably have a pretty good idea who I'm talking about. What were your week 3 college football takeaways?
Arch Manning, I don't know. I watched him in high school, and I thought he was way overvalued at that time, and it's starting to show a little bit. But there's so much hype around that guy. Like the New Mexico Lobos, where my son plays, beating UCLA in the Rose Bowl. That was pretty awesome. The Miami Hurricanes look like the real deal. And I've never been a Hurricanes fan, but we got a kid committed to Miami right now, and boy, they're really good on offense. They're flying around on defense. So, just hometown team. Probably better fan base right now than the Dolphins have, the Hurricanes.
By far. And I've had a fun little poll just asking football people who they think is the best team in college football. And I get it. Everyone has a different answer. Some say OSU, some say LSU. Who's it for you?
I don't know. It's so early. You got to let it play out. But the blue bloods like Notre Dame, and they're pretty much out of it now. And Texas sounds like they're pretty much out of it now. Tennessee should have won against Georgia. They didn't on that last second field goal that was missed in Tennessee. So I don't think Tennessee's going to go anywhere. That guy does a good job, Heupel. So yeah, I think that's LSU's. Brian Kelly's proven. So, yeah, there's a lot of football to be played.
Sammy in Daytona Beach is watching. He says FSU is the best team in football right now. Brent in Wellington, Florida, who you met at the Panthers game the night you were wearing the Rider T-shirt. Brent Wellington from Wellington says, I agree with Coach. Lose the sunglasses and wear your pants normal until you earn the right to dress like a goofball. Man, are they all over McDaniel here. Sammy says he looks like a tool.
You know who that Sammy is, Dustin? That's Sammy Gohagan.
I know. Yes, I know exactly who it is. Bomber Boy says, what, should they wear 3-piece suits? I don't think people understand. Those joggers but here's the thing, Matt. You remember when he was hired. Everybody thought that was cool. Now they don't think it's cool anymore. The only reason is because they're not winning.
Yeah, but he was hired because our last coach was such a disciplinarian, and he's not. So he can, come in as a cool dude, and that lasted for about a year and a half. In the last 3 years, it's just not been good football. And, listen, there's a lot of blame to go on the GM. I mean, Tua hasn't played, his numbers weren't bad on Saturday, but he throws timely interceptions. If you make him roll to his left, he's highly inaccurate. He throws across his body, and it doesn't have anything on the ball. They throw nothing but short passes to the running back. They don't get it down the field like they did 2 years ago. So yeah, his completion percentage was high, but they were a lot of check downs and a lot of flat throws to the back. And yeah, I could throw for 70% completion percentage doing that.
I was, by the way, speaking of you, I was halfway to Fort Lauderdale Thursday night when I got a notification on my phone that your game had been canceled. I felt bad that I went right to the top of the organization and texted you. Is it true? And you said, yeah. So I snapped off my route and went to the beach house and had a nice meal there. But tell the folks how the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs are doing.
We're 1-1. We should have played 4 already, and Mother Nature in South Florida has been terrible. Whether it's been lightning and not getting on the practice field. Really frustrating. We're going to try to play Saturday night this week at Coconut Creek. We're 1-1. Scoring a lot of points, a lot of yards. Our first game we lost by 7, 42-35. We had 600 yards of offense, and you're not supposed to lose those games. But we found a way, and it's been a little frustrating as we have gotten started this year, but. And the schedule doesn't get any easier, so we're going to have to get after every day of practice, and then get after it on Saturday night this week.
Okay, well, I'll be there. I haven't been to a game at Coconut Creek High School yet, so I'm looking forward to that. And before we get to the CFL, which I know you're dying to talk about, I did have a football-related question specifically to this. You put a lot of players in the NFL, including Blair Walsh, right? What is it with these kickers now that 50-plus yard field goals are automatic? The percentages are higher than ever in the NFL, and the distances are longer than ever. How has it become easy for them?
I think just a specialization in training. You know, that 15, 20 years ago, a guy could kick the ball. He didn't have a kicking guru. There were no places for those guys to really go together to train. And it's like punting and snapping. You don't know you got a bad snapper until it's a bad snap. And all these guys, it's the same thing. Think about how important the hold is for the snap. So I think it's just been a project of time of people really saying, okay, we're gonna really. And again, I'll go back to the days 10 years ago when Nick Saban. If I was Nick Saban and I made $10 million, I would have a kicking guru. I would have a quarterback guru that I'd say, just go find me the best kicker, best punter, and the best quarterback. I'll pay him out of my own pocket because those guys win the games that are close. So why not invest in them? And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and so overlooked. It's funny because I'm not going to switch gears to hockey here, but the topic came up on the weekend about the Panthers and when are they going to have to worry about replacing Sergei Bobrovsky? And I'm like, well, probably at least 3 years. He's 37 now, but you don't got to worry about drafting. Go buy somebody. That's what they did. That's what they did with Bob. Gave him $10 million a year, overpaid, and it's worked out because it's the most important position on the field. I know that quarterbacks are more important than kickers. I think you would agree with that, but still very important.
Well, yeah, it's important. And then, it goes back into the longevity of your contracts, getting new contracts, moving up in the profession based on other people's performances. And you obviously need to have a guy that can kick the ball. Look at Tennessee. Tennessee misses that kick at the end of the game. Heupel is now 3-0, and he's number one on the polls for the playoff. And now he's sitting outside of it off of a kick. So, yeah, those are important positions, and you can't overlook them. And if you do, you're playing with fire.
How many CFL games were you able to watch this week, if any?
I watched part of Friday night because my other son was playing Friday night at UCLA, so I didn't really get much of that. I saw Dogie come in for Toronto and win the game for Toronto, which was pretty cool because he's an air raid guy. I know his brother that coaches, so I was glad to see that. Montreal, I had texted Noel the other day. I said, call me crazy, but I think this is going to be the Grey Cup. Those two teams are going to be in the Grey Cup. I believe that. I still love Trevor Harris. I've read a few posts that he's been regressing through the season. I thought he played fine. And when Davis Alexander comes back with that defense and those weapons that Montreal has, and it looked like they got the running game going. So I think they're going to be pretty tough to beat, Montreal. Yep. You heard it here.
Well, if that's a Grey Cup preview, Rider fans won't like it. I mean, 530 yards offense for Montreal Saturday night in that football game. And I watched it in the Keys, and the Riders were never in that game. And, I mean, you've played in Saskatchewan, right? But you haven't been there long enough to soak up how nuts the fans are, I assume.
Listen, I played at Penn State. I played at Texas A&M. I played at Texas. I played at some of the biggest venues. I was just at Michigan 2 weeks ago, 110,000 people. I know what Saskatchewan is, and I know they have a great fan base, and I know how passionate they are. But it's what you would call a football city, and there's a lot of them around the country. Most of them in the United States in the Southeastern Conference or the Big Ten. But
right. All I'm saying is last hour, Scruffy was on here. He's in the Queen City, Saskatchewan. He goes, they're panicking. I'm like, what? They're 10-3. What, do you have a word for them?
Bored. They must be bored. I mean, listen, every time you go out, there's a chance you're going to lose. I don't care who you are. And they just better be very, very, very happy that their quarterback is still upright and playing in week 13, because that hasn't been the case the last few years. And, Tommy Stevens, I think that was the best pickup for O'Day on third down, and he put one on the ground the other night. So, listen, you keep playing games, you're going to see some people get exposed, make mistakes. And you knew it was a matter of time before Montreal was going to get going, and they got going in one night. Now what are they going to do next week? Are they, MBT played great, hadn't played in 5 weeks. But prior to that, he wasn't playing good. So, maybe he's seeing at the end of his career, and he's like, all right, I better get it going, or else nobody's going to offer me a contract next year if he still wants to play. But Winnipeg could use him, that's for sure.
Well, it's funny you say that. By the way, Sammy wants us all to know. He says, of course, I brought Daggy into the league. Haha. That's from Sammy. Just wants everybody to know. He says that he goes, they're known to fold in the playoffs. Who are we talking? Oh, are you talking about the Riders? You must be talking about the Riders, because Montreal does not. But it doesn't sound like you watched the Winnipeg-Hamilton game. They can't win without Zach Collaros. And a viewer wrote in here earlier that Winnipeg should go out and trade for Chad Kelly at the trade deadline, or before the trade deadline. If you're Toronto, would you make that move?
No, absolutely not. Chad Kelly's a generational talent in the CFL. You don't get rid of Chad Kelly, period. Now, Chad Kelly prices himself out of the marketplace. That's a different story. But you don't get rid of Chad Kelly. Strevler, he's a good third down quarterback. I just don't see it. I don't think he can throw it enough times accurately in the CFL as the ball's thrown in the air so much. They need a passer. He's more of that guy that can come in and run for 30 yards on a play, like Tommy Stevens. But to put all your eggs in that basket, I don't know what they have at number 3, but I'm sure they're looking right now.
Wayne in Victoria, BC says, yeah, I don't know when he's going to be back, but Wayne in BC says, I'm not panicking. The Riders are fine. Will they win the Grey Cup? At least they're in the dance. How would you approach the final 5 games if you were Corey Mason? You've clinched already.
I'd do everything to keep my quarterback healthy. That's number 1. Number 2, I'd figure out what the heck is going on with the kicker, because he was so good last year, and it looks like he's lost his confidence. And we've been talking about kickers today. I think he's a hell of a kicker, but he has not performed to the same level he performed a year ago. So I'd worry about that. And try to, I don't know what's wrong with the returner. I just got a brain lock. Number
Alfred?
2. Yeah, I don't
Alfred?
think he played last year. Yeah, he's been injured a lot. I'd try to get him healthy because he's a game breaker. And then, hey, listen, we're talking about guys in the CFL. That's another position. You better go out and spend money on a guy that can return those kicks, can handle the football, is 100% confident when to take it out of the end zone or when to put a knee down. Those guys are valuable. And I think Jeremy is super smart on having Alfred on the team and playing.
Yeah, he played Saturday night. I watched the game. Coach, we are out of time. This has been fantastic. We covered it all. Thanks for this, and I'll see you Saturday night.
All right. Keep in touch with me. Hey, is your number the Canadian number still or what?
No, it's U.S. now.
Numbers? Okay.
U.S. number. Yeah. All right. We got it cleared up. We'll be right back with a sports update and viewer takeover the rest of the way. Be right back here on Game Plus TV.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's get to a sports update here. I appreciate the comment from Wayne. I was just going through viewer comments here. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes in and he says, good talk with Matt Dubuc. Thank you. Guy knows his ball, and he's a very close friend of mine here in South Florida. Chris Jones lined us up. When I got down here 5 years ago, Chris Jones goes, here's a list of guys you need to look up. Dubuc was number one on the list, and we talk almost every day. Thanks, Coach. Okay, to the aforementioned sports update. Just hang on. John in Edmonton writes in, he says, why are there 2 NFL games today? I just find it odd. I feel like, John in Edmonton, you worry about odd things. Hubby, don't worry about it. Just sit back and enjoy. And we'll talk about that in a second. But first, the Toronto Blue Jays are in Florida for tonight's opener of a 4-game series with the Tampa Bay Rays. Jays coming off a sweep of the Baltimore Orioles. Toronto enters the penultimate week of the regular season with a 4-game lead over New York in the American League East Division standings. Do you know what penultimate means? I just realized it a couple of years ago. The next to last, or second last. Why they can't say second last, I don't know. But things change. Our rare Monday night doubleheader in the NFL. Action kicks off in Houston, where the Texans welcome the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Later, the Los Angeles Chargers will visit the Las Vegas Raiders. Chargers beat the Kansas City Chiefs in their season opener in Brazil. Here's the one thing that I'm learning, and as I talk about with my older broadcast brethren, I've been allowed to let things go. A lot of them have not. but my English instructors, my writing instructors at Mount Royal University would be beside themselves. A rare Monday night doubleheader in the NFL. That's not a sentence. There's no verb in that. You know what I'm saying, Corey? Did you ever take those classes? Or are you just more of a tech guy? You did take it. Okay. Where'd you go? Algonquin? What college did you go to? Sheridan. There you go, everybody. That's not a sentence. Yeah, right. Let it go, Rod. As I said to John in Edmonton, just go with it. Rod, just go with it. Grammar doesn't mean a damn thing. Reports say Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow will need toe surgery that will sideline him for at least 3 months. Burrow was hurt in the second quarter of a 31-27 home win over Jacksonville yesterday when he was sacked by Eric Armstead. Burrow left the Bengals locker room on crutches with a boot on his left foot after the injury. Washington Capitals have put assistant coach Mitch Love on leave pending the results of an investigation by the NHL. The Capitals won't divulge more details and say they'll have no further comment until the league's investigation is complete. Before coming to Washington, Love was head coach of the AHL's Calgary Wranglers in 2022-23. Before that, the Stockton Heat, the WHL's Saskatoon Blades. It's a tough one for Mitch. Known him a long time, 41 years old, from Quesnel, BC, broadcast his games as a player. He's been on this show multiple times, and I feel bad for Mitch because I have no idea what's going on here at all. You can read up on it. It's not hard to find the details of anything. Capitals aren't saying anything about it. There's been some digging by investigative reporters into how this came about and that the investigation actually has been going on for months. But the sad thing for Mitch is there will be a lot of people distancing themselves from him just because of this. And we may find out if that's a good decision by those people, or we may not find out. I don't know what's going on. I'm very close friends with his agents. I'm not texting them to find out. What I know is it's a tough time on everybody. And as I said last hour, I just hope for a positive conclusion for all those involved. The sports update is brought to you by Ultimate Fan Zone. From jerseys to trading cards, Ultimate Fan Zone Sports Store is your fan cave headquarters. Visit them on Main Street, Moose Jaw, or click over to ultimatefanzone.ca. Overtime is coming up next. It's your chance to get all your questions and comments read. If you have anything you'd like to get at me, now's the time. 902-518-3033 for Western Dodge. And we'll be right back after this final timeout. You are watching on Game Plus Television, YouTube Live, podcast, and, of course, 1700 AM Mission Radio.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon
and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Overtime, proudly brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where skill and fun collide, or as I've said, an amusement park for hockey players. It is never too late to work on your game. Head on down to Overtime Hockey Lanes, 28th Street, Northeast Calgary, and tell Randy and Michelle that the RP Show sent you. Okay, putting a wrapper on the program today. BC Eric writes in with a really good question. He says, what's the more important position in sports, backup quarterback or backup goalie? I think they are of equal importance. Canucks were in trouble without Demko, and the Lions couldn't win without Rourke. I would say backup quarterback, because there's far less games in football. I mean, I remember a few years ago, Winnipeg Jets fans were all worried about who was going to be the backup to Connor Hellebuck. And I'm like, if that's your biggest worry, who's going to be your backup goalie, then you don't have that many worries, which I don't think the Winnipeg Jets did or do. Here in Florida with the Panthers, I mentioned we were down on the Keys this weekend, and it's odd how much hockey comes up, and it's not just because I'm there and people know that's my sport. There's a lot of fans here of the game and of the Panthers, and we're talking about how soon before the Panthers need to worry about having a number one. It's like 3-4 years away, and they've had a different backup goalie every year. Now, let's not use the Dolphins as an example, because they've had a different backup quarterback every year to Tua. But there's a difference. When you put in your backup quarterback, you expect to win. When you put in your backup goalie, you don't. You're only putting in your backup goalie to give your number one guy a breather, a break. When you're putting in your backup quarterback, things aren't good, And I know you people in BC, or may I say fans of Wally Buono, like my stories about Wally. And I remember him saying one time, he goes, when you pull the quarterback, what did he say? Oh, yeah. He goes, when you pull the goalie in a game, the team gets a lift. When you pull the quarterback in football, the team dies. That was a Wally line. I mean, I don't know, because I haven't coached at that level in either sport. But I'll say it again. What's more important is backup quarterback. When you put in your backup, you expect to win in football. But when you put in your backup goalie, you don't expect to win. You're just hoping to get out of the game. By that point, it's 7-0. Like, we're done. Let's just get out of this. But thank you, BC Eric, for the question. And I'll never forget, he was the one who said he comes here to this show to get away from Vancouver Canucks talk. But you brought up the Canucks. Wayne in BC writes, and he says, well said, Rod. I never thought about how many games are played in hockey compared to football. Oh, leave that to me. Nobody does think about that. You know, people talk about these astronomically crazy salaries that NBA players are getting. Well, there's only 12 guys on a team, 5 on the court at a time, as opposed to 55 on an NFL team roster. And the NFL guys only play 17 games. The NBA is playing 82. 902-518-3033. John in Edmonton writes in, he says, Reverend Rod, the Edmonton Oil Kings home opener on September 20th is Taylor Swift themed. Lots of Taylor Swift activities, including a post-game 45-minute Taylor Swift impersonator concert. How about that? John, send us photos, please, and a report. Regina Pats, I believe, are home September 29th. What is it, Rat? Got the PA Raiders in there, I think. They had some problems with the Raiders last week, I saw. 902-518-3033. Gary in Winnipeg writes in, and he says, Chris Streveler had a quarterback rating of 26 in the first half of the game. Mike O'Shea should have given Terry Wilson an opportunity to play in the second half of the Hamilton game. Well, I didn't see Mike O'Shea's comments after the game. One thing that I know, coaches don't like to pull quarterbacks. They don't like to do it. It's like the last resort. Just like GMs don't like to fire coaches for a variety of reasons. I think chief among them is it proof that they were wrong in hiring the guy in the first place. But I mean, Streveler is their guy in Winnipeg. I feel like it's worth talking about, and they probably are talking about it a lot, and will on Winnipeg Sports Talk, which is coming up on YouTube at 1 p.m. Central right after our program here today. Hey, Chief Johnny Moe. He says, have a good day, Rod. You too, Johnny. You tell the world. I have a meeting with the FAU Hockey Club coming up this afternoon that I'm quite excited about, Florida Atlantic University. Their request. I wonder what they want. Bill in the Queen City writes in, and he says, another good show, Rod. It's a great start to our week. Oh, thank you, Bill. I appreciate you allowing us the honor of keeping you company for 2 hours every day. Like I say, I'm looking forward to these games tonight in the NFL, the doubleheader. I hope you look forward to our program every day. Just like we look forward to the games at night. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, whoever thought Streveler could be the heir apparent in Winnipeg shows a huge lack of judgment. Go read my column, Jeff, the Stamps fan. I talked about it in there. At one time, Streveler did win games. So I'm kind of giving Mike O'Shea and Kyle Walters a bit of a reprieve on this one, a pass. It's on Streveler because he doesn't seem to be the same player. He's started games in the NFL. It's all in my column at rodpeterson.com. You're welcome. And that's it. Tomorrow, Mike Richards and the Moose will be with us. The Moose is on fire. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, noon Eastern, here on Game Plus Television.
Now I'm the whore and the pimp. That's where the money is.
How about that?